In this video, I'm going to prove to you that concurrent periodization is one of the safest ways that you could train. And in particular, I want to identify 3 different ways in which guys get hurt from following strength training programs. Number 1 would have to be overuse, 2 is muscular imbalances, and 3 is bad form or ego lifting. I strongly believe that these are the factors that make a program safe or not. So starting off with overuse, we all know what this is. You're working a little bit too hard, your joints start aching, next thing you know, you snap your shit up. A great example of this would be to say do 100% conventional deadlifts off the floor every single day for the next year. I guarantee you that within that time frame, you're going to hurt your lower back. You're going to get a herniated disc, you're going to blow out your lower back. It's not going to be pretty. So that is overuse in a nutshell. Now, some programs will lead to overuse faster than others. Some programs will lead to overreaching faster than others. With concurrent, that does not really happen. In fact, overuse is a rather rare thing because of the fact that you have a volume day and an intensity day throughout the yearly cycle. You see, with a linear periodization system, you might start off with volume work, 5 sets of 10. And as you go through the months, you lower the volume. As volume lowers, intensity rises. So next thing you know, you're doing your triples, then you go your 1 rep max, and guess what? Work capacity went to shit. And now you got to take a deload because you're burnt out. And then guess what? When you redo that cycle with your 5x10, you can't do it. Like, you feel destroyed. 5 sets of 10 is not a thing that you can handle anymore. Whereas with concurrent, because of the fact that you have a volume day and intensity day throughout the yearly cycle, I can do 5 sets of 10 year round without stalling. I can do 10x10 year round, which some people would say that it's impossible to do. I can do it. I can do 8 sets of 8 year round. I can do 6 sets of 6 year round. I can do 4x4 year round. I can do triples year round. I can do 1 rep maxes year round. Now, people say that maxing out is going to lead to injury. That's going to lead to overuse. Well, if that's true, how come people who use concurrent periodization can max out every single week for many, many years? In fact, many, many decades. Because as you all know, I didn't invent concurrent periodization. This is a time-tested, proven system that has produced excellent athletes. It does work, okay? So how can it be dangerous if you have your volume day and your intensity day year-round, and that does not lead to overuse? Because what we have to understand, folks, is that the biological law of accommodation is what's going to cause you to regress. It's what's going to cause you to feel beat up, to not maximize your performance. And when you have volume work and intensity work year-round, and you just rotate the exercise, you're overcoming the biological law of accommodation, but without negatively impacting your performance, without sacrificing the volume work that you built up to, the low reps that you built up to. So it's maintained. And that's why you can make such amazing strength gains while following a concurrent periodization system. Pretty much PRs after PRs every single week. So by most people's definition, a program that allows you to make super duper fast strength gains would have to be dangerous and lead to overuse. But with concurrent, what we get is a program that allows you to make strength gains extremely fast without the overuse, because you don't get beat up. You're overcoming the biological law of accommodation. You have volume work, intensity work. You're rotating the exercise. Whereas a lot of these minimalist programs don't rotate lists. They got to manage volume and intensity differently. And that's why they're always taking deloads. Guys, I've been maxing out for over 3 years now, every single week. Never once got injured, never felt overuse in the area that I was maxing out in, okay? The only time I got a little bit effed up, if you will, was when I ego lifted. And I'll get more to that later. But just to let you know right now, that's not part of concurrent, okay? Furthermore, I would like to mention that because concurrent is so effective for recovery, that in itself makes it pretty much a superior system to a lot of other models that exist. Because recovery is the most important thing in strength training. That's why guys take roids, so they can recover better, push themselves harder, do more workload, etc. So with concurrent, and the way that I prescribe it is full body twice a week, volume day, intensity day, with 2 to 4 times a week GPP, which maximizes recovery. Now, if you maximize recovery, that means your joints are not going to be beat up. If your joints are not beat up, you can push yourself harder. It means your nervous system is not fried. If your CNS is not fried, you can kick some ass in the gym. And if you can do this for years without stalling, in what way does that make this a dangerous system? In fact, how come people who use concurrent can recomp so successfully? I did it in 2016. I recomped for the entire year. I maintained a body weight of 180 pounds. I made the best strength gains of my entire life, next to the novice phase, of course. So I recomped for an entire year. I wasn't even in a calorie fucking surplus. Yet, never got recovery issues. I didn't get recovery issues because concurrent is very effective for doing that. It's very effective for recovery. So this could be a benefit to all people. It could be a benefit to guys who have to do sport-specific activities on a frequent basis. It could be beneficial for younger guys, for older guys who have beat up joints. In fact, I have had guys in their 60s run concurrent programs with great success. I've coached older men. A lot of these guys get tremendous success without beating up their joints. That in itself is all the proof that you need to know that overuse is not going to occur. It's training principles. It's supported by exercise science. It's supported by experience. At the end of the day, it's a volume day, the intensity day, you're rotating the lifts. Biological law of accommodation is overridden, and you don't feel beat up. That's the real truth. The second thing that contributes to injury is muscular imbalances. When you have muscular imbalances, the result is that you start feeling pains that did not exist before. Another thing that's bad about muscular imbalances is that it leads to loss of mobility in the desired muscles. So again, going back to the shoulder, right? If your front delt overpowers the rear, now you got thoracic rounding, and when you overhead press, you can't lock weights out behind yourself. You end up pressing here, which means larger moment arm, which means shittier performance. Same thing when you bench. If you go too low, you're gonna end up hurting your AC joint because you don't have that scapular retraction on point. So this is what happens when you don't do isolation work for these lagging areas, or if you just don't do accessory work to refine your weaknesses. Because what you need to understand, folks, is that a chain is only as strong as its weakest link, okay? That weak link is what's gonna make or break you, okay? And that's why higher exercise selection is so imperative. I'm not saying you gotta have a million different lifts, even though I personally have over 300 exercises in my program, Naturally Enhanced. What I'm just trying to say is that you can't just rely on the basics. Now, most of these guys, especially the advanced ones, are just doing the conventional deadlift, squat, bench press, overhead press, row, the classics. They don't do isolation work. They don't isolate the lower back and abs. They don't do special variations such as block pulls because they think it's not going to carry over to their floor strength, even though block pulls can spare your lower back. They neglect so many lifts because it's not as specific, even though it's pretty specific move pattern. They neglect so many lifts that leads to injuries. I'm telling you guys, if you just do the basics over and over again, something's going to snap eventually. If you don't do lower back and ab work, number one, you're missing out on some severe performance gain. You're missing out on some performance gain, and you're more likely to round your lower back on deadlifts. That is more likely to happen when you're weak over here, and the chance of injury increase tenfold, if you ask me. You have to isolate your areas like this. You have to do rear delt work. Why would you not isolate your rear delts? Why would you not do band face pulls? Why would you not do curls for the health of your elbows? Curls and push downs, supersetting that. Why would you not do isolation work? Why would you not do variations of competition lifts that are time tested, that are proven to automatically raise the lift while making you safe in the process? It doesn't make sense to me. And that's the flaw with minimalist training. There's so little exercise selection that these guys get hurt. When you become an advanced lifter and you're just doing conventional deadlift, for example, 600, to me, that injury risk is far increased, okay? And especially when we consider the fact that the more often you do a lift, the more often you'll have to face the biological law of accommodation. That's why with these periodization programs that is not concurrent, you constantly got to manipulate the variables. You constantly got to go from high volume to low volume and boom, 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 boom. It's because your body can't handle it. It can't handle doing the same shit over and over again. And pretty much with concurrent, you override that. You override that completely. Week 1, you might do a barbell row. Week 2, pendlay row. Week 3, T-bar row. Week 4, medals row. You rotate the variation each week, which prevents overuse from coming up, prevents muscular imbalances from coming up. I also believe this is why a lot of natural bodybuilders are bigger than some of these powerlifting guys, because they're higher exercise selection and they're really isolating their weaknesses, okay? This is going to help you. It's going to help you in injury prevention. It's going to help you get more jacked by isolating your areas, okay? Don't make your weak links apparent. If you have a weak area, address that shit. And with concurrent, just happens to be one of the best ways of doing it because of the higher exercise selection. So in what way is a program that includes high exercise selection dangerous? To me, a restrictive program has a higher injury risk than one that has lots of flexibility. And then the final thing that leads to injury is ego lifting and the usage of improper form. Now, in regards to improper form, I don't see how that's a variable that is somehow dependent on a program. Like, you can use bad form on any system. You could use bad form on concurrent, linear, undulating, Bulgarian light. All programs have the potential for you to use bad form. However, what I'd like to say is that with minimalist training, because you're going to have all kinds of muscular imbalances and weaknesses that you have the weak link in the chain, like I described earlier, that is more likely to lead to bad form. You see what I'm saying? If you have a weak posterior chain, you have weak lower back and abs, and you start doing deadlifts, the chances that you round your lower back is greatly increased. Bottom line. So that makes it more likely that you will experience bad form. If you don't train your rear delts, again, you're likely going to have kyphotic posture, which could lead to bad form on the overhead press. You see how this indirectly affects your exercises? So Higher exercise selection is without a doubt one of the best things you could do to prevent bad form from arising. On top of that, this higher exercise selection that I described with concurrent prevents ego lifting from arising because you're not doing the same thing over and over again. You're not trying to constantly break that PR. You're not trying to constantly train the competition. You're building the competition. That's the difference. And if you fail a lift, it doesn't negatively impact you. With another program, you might do a deadlift week 1, deadlift week 2. Then on week 3, you fail the lift because you kept doing your deadlift. And now you feel all beat up, you're psychologically devastated, and you're screwed. With concurrent, because you don't have to do the classical lifts that much, there's no worries. It's pretty much maximum confidence. You hit PRs on all your supplementary work. And then when it's time to the competition, you actually hit that PR. So this does, in fact, prevent ego lifting because of the high exercise selection, the high exercise rotation. And again, I can't really control whether or not you're going to ego lift. If you want to use bad form, I mean, I don't know what to tell you. I don't recommend bad form. I'm always talking about how when you bench press, you want to retract the scapula, you want to tuck the elbows in and stuff like that. And also like with concurrent, right? Some of the exercises that you could use because you're obviously mixing it up are a lot safer on the body. So it's the complete opposite of ego lifting. For example, a reverse band bench press, deloads the bottom, where on the bench press, where most of the pec tears and shoulder sprains occur. So that in itself is very safe. A board press will take you right out of here, okay? It's going to elevate it a little bit. It's rather safe lift, you know? Doubling bands has overspeed eccentrics, which is superior for the connective tissue development, okay? It gives you a nice stretch reflex in the chest. And of course, it's lighter at the bottom than it is at the top. You see what I'm saying? A lot of these special exercises are safer. Block pulls, same thing. Less moment arm on the lower back for deadlifts, which means you're in a safer way to train. Trap bar deadlift, same thing. All these variations are extremely safe. They prevent you from ego lifting, decreases the chance that you're going to use bad form on your main lift, and it just builds strength automatically. So to me, that's a great thing. Now, I know guys are going to say, well, Alex, that is concurrent, but not what you recommend. Because you like to do cheat rows and cheat shrugs. Well, yes, that is 100% true that I do cheat rows and cheat shrugs, but that's pretty much the only exception. I don't recommend cheating on anything else, okay? And the thing is, cheat rows and cheat shrugs are very safe. A cheat shrug is simply using leg drive. You bend and you do this. There's absolutely nothing dangerous about this. You're not going to use superhuman weights, okay? You're not extending your lower back in any way. You're using a simple dip of the legs, like a push press, and then you're shrugging. There's nothing dangerous about that. In fact, I never heard anybody injure the lower back or get an injury, period, from doing a power shrug. Olympic weightlifters have been doing it for decades and decades and decades. In fact, it's called the low pole in Olympic weightlifting. So there's nothing dangerous about a power shrug. Absolutely nothing dangerous about doing it, okay? And then for the cheat rows, again, I don't recommend cheat rows for beginners, okay? I recommend it for more advanced guys who know their body and who already built a foundation. So when you cheat row, you're not rounding the lower back. All you're doing is raising the torso a little bit, okay? And you're moving the bar aggressively, you're moving explosively. But never during a rep does your lower back ever round. Your lower back does not round during a cheat row. That is ego lifting to the maximum. You're going to get hurt doing that. So the two exceptions, even in that, it's not dangerous. And then the next criticism guys are going to say is, well, rack pulls above the knee are dangerous. Again, you're wrong because rack pulls are very safe because the moment arm is less. You have a smaller moment arm, less shearing of the spine, okay? Now guys are going to argue that there's more spinal compression, but you know what? I would say that the better leverages offsets this. The better leverages makes it safer than a pull off the floor, especially when we consider the fact that for most people, the conventional deadlift has too much hip flexion. That is one of the primary reasons why I recommend trap bar deadlifts with the high handles. I think it's a much safer lift than the conventional deadlift. Smaller moment arm, it's not near the limits of your hip flexion. It's a very, very safe lift to do. So again, there's nothing dangerous in what I promote. Rack pulls above the knee. It'll develop your core to a tremendous degree, which leads to injury prevention. Has a smaller moment arm on the lower back. Your body is upright, not bent forward like a deadlift, where so many guys have fucked up the lower back. And to me, it's a safer lift overall. So even in these three exceptions that people like to nitpick about, there's nothing dangerous about it. And guys will say, okay, well, what about partial lifts? I don't recommend manual partial lifts. I recommend that you use pins, boards, or blocks. So again, removes the risk factor right there. Just makes it a safer exercise, okay? So that's it for today's video. In all circumstances, we clearly see that concurrent periodization is a very safe way to train. There's nothing dangerous about it. I give you lots of logical examples to support my case. I reference exercise science. I gave you the raw game. So the next time you hear someone say, oh, alpha descent is going to get people hurt, recognize that they're wrong. Recognize that they're misinformed. They're not looking into what I actually preach, and it is what it is. So again, muscular imbalances, overuse, using improper form, or ego lifting, that's what gets guys hurt. And fortunately for you, concurrent does not hit those things. It's the complete opposite. It is very safe to do. So that is my advice for today. Hope you enjoyed this video. Give me your feedback down below, and I will talk to you all next time.